Everyone, this is Ian Miller, and welcome to another episode of Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel, or as it's been dubbed, the Triple Threat Comics podcast. It's been a moment since I've actually last spoke to you all, or hosted one of these shows. But I can tell you guys have probably missed the show, so I'm very excited to have very two special guests here with me. One of them is a returning guest, and they're here to talk about their new project, Stellarlands. So, let's get to it. Our first guest is, like I said, returning. He's actually had a very successful run on Blade Shot issue 1, and from what I'm told, he's doing issue 2 right now. So, here he is, the great Ben Worrell.
Hello, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And our next guest is the creator of Stellarlands, the project we're talking about today. Please welcome Max Ferrada.
Hey guys, glad to be here. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm glad you both are able to come on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, where are you guys from? In case my viewers haven't seen you guys before.
Okay. All right. Well, I am from Sydney, Australia.
Oh.
Yes, I originally from the Philippines, but raised in Australia, and it is about 3 a.m. here. I'm not complaining though. Yeah, like I said, I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, in terms of my identity, I think I more identify as like a Filipino immigrant more than I do an Australian national. Yeah, it's just really difficult sometimes to navigate that that homogeneous terrain. It takes a lifetime, but yes, Australian.
Okay, all right.
And I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So just up at a pretty high altitude, and I will say when I was first interacting with Max, and it was sort of a miscommunication. I think we actually thought he thought we were both from Australia. I think I was expecting to interact with kind of like a crocodile hunter, sort of a person, and then when we actually met on video, it was obviously I didn't get the accent I was quite expecting, but I would say Max's background and sort of where he comes from and what he brings to the table, it's way more interesting than I would say just like the crocodile hunter persona I was expecting. So I think when you talk to him today, you'll see he brings a lot of interesting perspectives.
That is good to hear. Okay, so let's get started. Stellarlands, why don't you tell us what it's about?
Well, Stellarlands. Well, I'll talk about Stellarlands as an issue, if it ever reaches an omnibus form, it's like a holistic look into into a war, into a sci-fi, into a war that takes place in a sci-fi universe, which involves a myriad of different alien species and political intrigue and a convolution, but a very coherent convolution of motivations of different intersecting characters. The way I liken it to is the TV show The Wire, where every season focuses on a different institution or a different set of characters, and as a result, main characters from earlier seasons become supporting characters in later seasons, and supporting characters in previous, or even just walk-on characters in previous seasons are suddenly given front and center roles. And what happens in the streets suddenly takes place in the journalism office, and different characters come to the fore. And the institution that Stellarlands takes as its investigative scope is how warfare would be conducted on an intergalactic scale, waged by a multitude of different alien species. And that is the series of Stellarlands described. This particular issue focuses on how covert, how covert missions would be undertaken were the phenomena of superheroes to exist in a grounded form. I believe Alan Moore said it best. If Superman existed in real life and Superman was American, you would surmise that the foreign policy of America would be very, very abrasive, very adventurous. You basically have a controllable 10-ton nuclear bomb at your bidding. And I wanted to explore those political dynamics when you introduce a superhero into the fold. And in this case, the protagonist, whose name is Daphne, is dispatched on secret missions. She can do so because she has that invulnerability that allows her to travel through space. And what establishes is she's sent to a moon base, which holds intel long forgotten from a war 50 Earth years ago, and I use that as an opportunity to establish the historicity of the Stellarlands universe, of a war that happened 50 years ago, and introduces the various alien species that have a role to play in the issues to come. So that's issue 1 in a nutshell. Yes.
That sounds fantastic. It seems to me that you've also were inspired not just by Moore's quote, but also a little bit of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, because Superman was pretty much that role as you just described.
Yes. I think this is okay. You'll have to forgive my lack of knowledge on superhero lore. My background is on film, but this is the comic book where Superman and Batman are already in middle age. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, one is in middle age, one is older. Batman is older. Superman is kind of like the puppet for the U.S. government. Pretty much doing their bidding, kind of like that.
Yes. I do believe I've read this, and Batman has a sort of a following, like a rebel following. Is that correct? And Two-Face is one of the villains as well, but he's not. Yes, I've read it. It's really good. Yeah, it's really dark. I'm not sure. I might have been subconsciously influenced by something like that. But what really resonated with me with that comic book was how grounded everything was. And I like my stories to be grounded, to be more girl than Marvel girl, to have a sort of tactile sense of the consequences of the very human repercussions. And that's what I liked. That's what I loved about The Dark Knight Returns. There's a real psychology there with I remember the Two-Face villain. There's more to it than just the pomp motivations of wanting to be a supervillain. There's emotional scarring there, and that's what left. I know that's what resonated with me in the surface, but I have to reread it in order to gestate the political underpinnings. So that's an interesting observation. Definitely.
I think too, Max, one of the things that really stuck out to me in reading the script and kind of hearing you talk about it, one of the books that I read quite a while ago, and then it became a very successful TV show, was The Boys. And in that, they really hammer the idea of corporations being in control of superheroes, and the idea that you would almost have a brand associated with heroes, and that the corporation was the one sort of sending them on their missions and getting them to sort of market their branding through their superheroics. But whereas The Boys, I think, takes a rather over the top and very cynical look at what would happen if people had superpowers, that basically, the power would corrupt them and they would become just like the worst that humanity has to offer. What I found in Stellarlands is that it takes a very human approach, where even though these powers are given to people, or they acquire these powers, that it still has a reasonable connective tissue, that I feel like I could still be this hero. I could still see that I would respond in a similar way. Whereas in The Boys, it's a very these are just evil people, and while it's a realistic take in Stellarlands, it's not necessarily such a cynical one, and I found that to be very attractive in the script.
Okay, and that does this question for you, Ben, because that drew you to the script. Max, have you ever seen Ben's work prior to him coming into the project?
No, I haven't seen anybody's work who's involved in this comic book until the day I decided to create a comic book. And but of course you do your due diligence. And what I found, in Ben's work, aside from the proportions, which were obviously gorgeous, was there was like a sense of desperation, like leaping through the pages. And I'm going by this zombie book that Ben drew, or this zombie short that Ben drew. I allude to it because it was readily available on Amazon, and I was glad to purchase it. But it's told with, correct me if I'm wrong, but such a minimalism of dialogue, a minimalism of speech balloons. I am not a fan of the automatopoeia, but if it's used, it has to like be easy on the pages, that you don't find yourself lingering too long on something. And even though that particular issue was only a few pages, I went through it so quickly that I felt the need to read through it again almost immediately thereafter. That's that's the sort of energy that I wanted to infuse in the book. That like my favorite book is Catcher in the Rye. I wish I could read slower, because the book is that thin, and you wanna be in that world a little longer, and that's how I wanted people to engage with the material. And if you could do that with a zombie like mini story with two characters and an oddly relatable straw dog zombie like situation, there's really no limit to what context you could deliver that. And I'm not a zombie guy. I graduated film school in 2009, and everybody's graduating film was like a zombie movie. It was zombie fatigue, and it probably still is. I mean, I love zombie films, of course, but if you have too much ice cream, your brain rots. And the fact that Ben's story was able to revitalize that and put that narrative to the fore, was definitely a motivating factor in my approach to him.
I thought one thing that was really interesting about the art direction for Stellarlands was, one, what you mentioned was the onomatopoeia was removed, and that was something I was very used to in comic books, was allowing for the impact of the sound effect to help to enhance the art. And it really did allow me to stretch myself quite a bit, and hopefully it comes across on the page, but allowing more impact in the visuals so that you feel that sound effect without it actually being on the page. The other thing that and you might have noticed in the reading of it was Max restricted me to the very traditional 9-panel layout on the page, and this was very Watchmen-esque, very silver and golden age of comics, where they weren't really experimenting too much with the different shapes of panel borders and page layouts, and that also was a big challenge for me because up until that point, I'd been doing hero books that allowed me to do a lot of, figures breaking out of panels and zigzagging across the page. And this really brought me back to basics in a lot of ways in telling the story. And those two elements combined, I think, stretched me a lot as an artist. And in this book and the one following it, it made me rethink how to stage the shots and stuff like that to get the most out of that very limited 9-panel format.
Well, I think that's great because you should always challenge yourself, with each new project. Say, okay, I want to do something different than what I did in the last one. How do I do that? So the fact that you were able to have this on this particular project is fantastic. And in fact, let's actually show the people what the book looks like, shall we?
Yes, please.
I think you'll be very excited about this, folks. All right. Now, this is the cover, obviously, and the grad page. But look at the artwork. Look at this.
Yes, and I have the physical copy as well. And yes, it looks just as gorgeous on the page.
Yeah, so you can see within every page, it's always on that grid. There's never variance on that, except for a couple of instances where I did a sort of a 3.5 layout, but generally speaking, so this one here where the top two rows got combined together, but it's always along that 9-panel grid. This is my favorite page right here, the title page.
Flash
Not only
pages.
was it fun to draw, but I love how minimalistic it is.
That's fantastic.
Space is big, man. Space is big. I wanted to get that aspect of distance.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I mean, it's not like Star Trek or Star Wars where you land on a planet and it's like being in another neighborhood. There's a huge distance to traverse, different forms of gravity, different time dilations. Yeah, that's I don't know if in real life if space travel is going to be or at least a intergalactic space travel is going to be very practical.
I don't know. It's something that the powers that be have to figure it out because you have to figure out the mechanics and also figure out how to safely travel.
Even if they do achieve all that, which is very possible, even if they achieve it in a safe and physically pragmatic way, there are the laws of physics that make it not practical. I could go on a trip to Andromeda and I'll come back and I'll not have aged, and everyone, the whole of the Earth would have aged 80 years, or it's crazy.
And that concept is explored a little bit. Well, not a little bit, but it is explored later on. And that doing some reading on that, thanks to Max's writing, I'm now absolutely objectively horrified by the concept of time dilation and the idea of like losing a lifetime or several lifetimes over the course of like minutes. And it's like worse than traveling underwater for me, which used to be my greatest fear, but now it's like going to a planet where I age, so much slower than my family. It's just a horrible thought.
Yeah.
Very well brought to the forefront by these books. Max, you should talk about the ads. He's been scrolling through a couple of them. And
the ads. Yeah, let's go over here. This is all world building. And I wanted to give you a sense of the corporatism that Ben brought up earlier. I mean, there's really no going past the monetary aspect of things when you're a species as flawed as a human being. But these products that they're advertising, like the Swift spinal inhibitor, they come into play in the narrative in a in functions that are both just theatrical or narratively crucial. But Yeah, if you look right at the bottom corner, you'll see like a logo that says Liber Stellar.
Yeah.
That's a new edition that is introducing a corporate body of advertising into the universe of this particular book, which will be brought up again in later issues. And it's also self-referential as well in just playing with the medium. You'll have in many, like, 90s kids had to put up with commercials. The commercials do exist, but they are part of the universe of the comic book, and they do serve as a function in the storyline. And also, they are researched. I think it's unlikely that's the flux cochlear spray or an iteration of it will exist, and you spray it in your ear and it'll cure a migraine. But that's I guess that's just me playing with my thoughts on how current technology would arise. There was a comic book that I'd never read that sort of played with fake ads, a sci-fi. Do you guys know what it is?
Um,
I'm
Not a fan, no.
The closest I remember something doing this was the film RoboCop.
Oh, right. No.
Yeah, because they had these fake ads, just to pretty much do a parody on these type of
Okay, cool.
see on television or just the news, because you remember the news was a very big part of the movie. So you would see these type of fake ads. So, and
yeah, they also break up. Yeah. They also break up acts as well. These new ads. I assume that's how they do it in RoboCop.
They did.
Yeah. And but I got the idea from Philip K. Dick's novel Ubek, which is highly underrated, and everyone should read it. But that's.
I know. Yeah.
I did something similar in Hate Punch 2, which I think I sent you a copy of.
Yes.
You should give it a read through. It's the idea of it was to have sort of this meta storyline of like the tormented filmmaker sort of relieving his demons through the filmmaking process of making a sequel to a film that was successful 15 years ago. And anyway, we put in like toy ads and ads for video games and action figures, and all of it was sort of in universe for the film itself, but also kind of added to the narrative of this poor director who lost his parents too soon. So I find that to be a very useful way. You can add humor with it, but I think with Stellarlands, what I found was useful is it introduced us to this character who we see as kind of like the spokesmodel for all of the ads, and she winds up being a rather significant emotional punch at the end of the book as well, which I thought was very clever and generates a need for a reread once you get through it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Good to know. A lot of the earlier reviews have told me that they reread the book in quick succession after having read it the first time. So that definitely illuminates that particular instincts. So it's great. Good to know that. Yeah, your amazing ad artwork. Worked and brought that motivation to the very final pages. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cleverly done, I think. I think you did a great job on that, Max.
Yeah, first comic book as well. Yeah, I'm just really, I can't wait to get to the next one. You know that feeling. Yeah.
Oh, I know that feeling.
You want to drive the train, but there's not enough tracks on the road. But you just want to keep going. But you gotta be responsible. You gotta lay the track first.
Yeah.
And this is what issue delivers right now, just the track work, and I think it's going to be a very exciting series. Now, the question I have to ask is this. I know this is planned for 8 issues, but do you see it continuing further than that? This is going to be an ongoing series, or is it just going to be a limited series?
I don't know. I right now in my brain, it's pretty bookended with the 8, and the narrative is pretty tight there. The actual war behind the Pelothrexia war behind these 8 issues will end within those 8 issues, but there might be other sagas to be told in the Stellarlands universe, and I'm completely open to that. But yeah, it's just one project at a time, and this project might take a lifetime. It might be very, very quick, but yeah, whatever shape it takes, it's at the moment I'd have to say that it's pretty solidly bookended.
Okay. Well, Ben, second question to you: do you think this could potentially, go on past 8 issues? And if it does, as depending on you, Max, if it does, would you want to work on it more?
Yeah. Well, to answer your first question, I mentioned, or you mentioned earlier, that I'm working on Blade Shot, and that's definitely planned as a 6-issue miniseries. It's it's start and end, and I have it all planned out. It's going to be a very final ending to it. But with that said, of course I think about a prequel, and of course I think about side characters that could be expanded upon, and I think any creator would do that. I think that from all the discussions, and I've had plenty of lengthy discussions with Max about his characters and the species of aliens and all these things, and I just think with an imagination that big, there's no way that there's not ideas outside of 8 issues. There just has to be. But also I think that having an end is very reassuring to both a writer and an artist, because there is the risk of burnout. There is the risk of going 30, 40, 50 issues on something, and you haven't explored these other things that are still in your notebook. And so I would say I believe him when he says that it's 8 issues planned. But there's no way that there's not more to it that he could do if he decided to. As far as my interest in continuing, I absolutely love it. Like I said, this is something that it expanded me as an artist. It challenged me as an artist. It's interesting. It's well written. Being in the indie comic scene, you take work that very much ranges in quality, very much ranges in how well prepared the author is to actually have that book be made. And for me, Max is kind of at the very top range of that, of being very well prepared, very well thought out. And all of our work together is very much about an interaction, a discussion, and he takes my ideas under consideration, which I really appreciate. So I'd be in, well beyond 8 issues if he'd have me. Absolutely.
Well, I think, Max, that you have some serious thinking to do, especially considering the world.
Yeah, I don't know. There are limits to my imagination, just like anybody else's. But yeah, I can't imagine not doing this with anyone other than Ben, and especially as an artist. And I'd like to give a shout out to the colorist, the colorer. I'm not sure.
Say that.
What,
Okay.
the colorist, Anthony Wilson Go. He has such a really deep understanding of lighting that really complements and enhances Ben's work. If you go to the first page, Wilson Go. If the last panel, I just love the silhouette. He really took into consideration the light coming from the back and how that would create a sort of silhouette effect on the characters in that panel. And by the way, the alien designs were vague. Those are completely plucked from the visual imagination of Ben, and these creatures have taken on deeper spectral roles as the series progresses. And I guess in that sense we definitely feed off each other's creativity.
And I would add on to that with the colorist, the predominant location of the book is on a very snowy moon, and I don't think it can be understated the challenge that comes with creating visually interesting colors with such a limited palette as snow, and making it feel cold, and also bringing that visual interest. And so I would give a shout out on the colors there as well. That those snow scenes really pop.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. I'm afraid of snow, and that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, this was going to take place in the forest, but I thought that might be a bit easy. So, yeah, like in the early parts of before the art,
Yeah.
I changed it to snow. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks gorgeous. The whole book looks fantastic. It really does. My favorite shot, I would have to say, aside from this gorgeous pages, is the shot.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, very emotional shot, and that helmet again. That's another detail that was added by Ben's. Just purely through Ben's initiative, and the more I read look at it, the more I love it. It's really good.
This looks fantastic. Wow. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, it's easy to do that when you're in a visual medium and you just get enraptured in what's in front of you.
Well, yeah. And speaking to that helmet, I do think that that's a really fun another thing that rewards people who reread it, because that helmet appears in one of the ads earlier on, and you can see it a bit in the foreground in one of the panels as well. And I think it just it adds to the layers of the narrative because her helmet is crushed on impact at the start on her unfortunate arrival on the moon, and so that I think that stuff like that is just really really good when much like with a good movie that you'd like to rewatch, having details in a book that make you want to go back and reread it. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the attention to detail that lifts that lifts story to world building. That's the sort of granularity that really puts this into an art form perspective. Yeah, it's very hypnotic, very addictive.
Mhm.
True. Okay, so let's actually go on to the Kickstarter for a second here. And here we are. Now, you guys have got 16 hours to go, and you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's in American money though, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that translates to. I don't have my phone with me. But the comics, the publishers who were kind enough to do all this. I mean, I think their motivation was to just have enough for the initial run of physical prints like this, and to create an audience, like an initial audience, after which there would be any residuals after it would go to the next issues. And I look forward to doing all this again in issue 2.
I think this book is really going to benefit from eyes on it and word of mouth. There's generally speaking on Kickstarter, the books that rise to the top are generally the ones that have rather overtly sexual or explicit material that they can just kind of put front and center and catch eyes and get folks on the page. With something like this that I would dare say is slightly more cerebral, I think that once folks get this in their hands, they're going to share it with their friends, and they're going to. I think that we'll see a second and third and fourth issue get more eyes and get more interest from the get-go, just because the more people who read it, I really think are going to be impressed and want to see what comes next. But this was very deliberately not supposed to be a traditionally, sort of sexuality driven female character, and so I think that folks will need some time with it. But I do think that the success of the book is going to be contingent on getting eyes on it, and I think that the folks who are backing it right now are going to be really happy they did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they will. Yeah, 100%. Very, very proud of how it looks, and very proud of the world that we've created. Yeah. So yeah, this is great. I haven't actually seen the Kickstarter from this view before. To be honest, I don't see it that much. The our publishers there are wonderful people at Comex devised this design, and to see it in this detail is I'm just very pleased that I threw my hat with these guys. They've done a stellar job. I must say they've done a great job.
The colors on that cover are so good.
Oh,
I love the white, the way the white shadows interact with the white background. That's a chef's kiss right there. I love the colors on that cover.
The color Wilson Go, and the graphic designer Peter Wilson, who does all of the Comex titles. Thank you. Yeah, that definitely stands out. Yeah.
Max, are you talking at all about the next issue?
Oh go right ahead. I just I haven't practiced.
I would just say, because we're probably about to wrap up here, but if you wanted to plug for it, the concept is so exciting, and I think people might be interested to hear like kind of what's coming next.
Oh well, the next issue 2 is a different character. It takes place at the periphery of the same war, and what the theme that takes front and center here is corporatism. Are the corporate like almost gods? Like corporations are the gods here, and in this Greek drama, and how the normal regular citizens and soldiers just are their playthings, are exists by virtue of their whims. And in this particular issue, we are centered on the concept of occupation, of what an army occupying another region, in this case another moon, what that does to the dynamics of the citizenry, and how the citizenry of who are occupied become dependent on the occupiers, but while at the same time there's another contingent that are violently opposed to the occupiers. And without giving too much away, there is an aspect of finance, and there is and time dilation is also a major plot point, a major narrative contrivance that is used to what I hope is deep emotional effect.
It certainly sounds like it's going to heighten up the drama a bit, which is actually always good, and always has to torture your readers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, emotion is the most important thing of any storytelling medium in my philosophy. You got to feel something. I mean, the writing can be a little fractured, and there could be flaws in the artistry, but if there's emotion there, if there's real emotion, then that's what matters. That's what sweeps you away.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now remember, folks, as we're shortly ending time here, that the Kickstarter will end in 16 hours. So if you guys are interested in the series, you'll personally get a copy now.
Yes. Yeah. The minimal pledge, I believe, is $8 Australian. I don't know what that is in US dollars. Maybe 6, maybe 7. The Australian dollar was not doing great for the past 11 months, and now it's suddenly doing great. So it might be a little higher, but the minimal pledge will get you a copy, at least a PDF copy, and then a slightly higher pledge will get you a physical. One of these babies right here. One of actual. It never, when I first wrote this, it never occurred to me to have this in paper form, in physical form. It was in my mind. I never thought about the advantages of having something on an even page and an odd page. I thought that I would release it directly to Amazon or collaborate with my publisher in releasing it as a PDF or digital book only. But they were quite adamant that it was worthy of a physical copy, and I am so glad that I acquiesced to their insistence. And yeah, because I love how it feels, love how it smells. I don't know, this is just a newbie guy looking at his first comic book, and the fact that it's in my hands and soon hopefully will be in your hands is it's just so scintillating. It's and it's very surreal. Yeah, it's very, very surreal. I gotta give credit to the comics guys for turning my head around in that regard.
Well, I'm very pleased to have you both here on the show. Guys, check out Stellarlands Kickstarter now, issue 1, and get ready for issue 2. It's coming soon. Okay, before we wrap up, I'd just like to make a couple announcements. Next week, we'll actually have Greg McQuinn. I'm sorry, Greg. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And Josh Harris to talk about their Kickstarter Mittens, issues 1 and 2. And this is issue 3 of my book, Codename Hunter. If anyone would like to purchase a copy, it'll be available soon on SierraNovaComics.com as well as IndiePlanet.com. Or if you want one quicker, just send me a private message. It'll be a secret. Okay. Ben, Max, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem. This was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And please get good luck on Stellarlands. Hopefully this reaches to fruition. And Max, please get some sleep, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Well, I've been eating. Did you know that apples are actually very efficacious in like keeping you awake? Probably better than caffeine. So yeah, that's what I did. Just eating apples.
Eating the whole bushel of apples.
Quite a few. I might have had 3 or 4. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully you couldn't tell that I was sleepy, because I wasn't. You know, it's the citrus goodness in the apples. That's what kept me up. All right. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is all for us at Triple Threat Comics. I'm Ian Miller. Have a good day, folks.